Domee Shi, you are written and directed the show, and you are joined by the producer Becky Neiman Cobb. Uh, Domi, I was curious, where did the idea for this short come from? Because it's incredibly charming and it's incredibly beautiful. Where did the idea come from for this?
Thank you. Yeah, so the idea for this short came from a couple of different places. It was mostly inspired by my own life, growing up as an only child to my super Chinese mom and my dad, and like ever since I was little, like they've always treated me like their precious little dumpling, like always protecting me, making sure I'm safe, making sure I never went out or had a life outside of their little realm. And I just wanted to use this short as a way to explore that relationship between an overprotective mom and this baby dumpling, and show how a relationship can change over time and the bittersweetness of like letting something go, even though you love it so much. I'm also a huge foodie too, so I just needed any excuse to like research and draw food like a lot. Yeah, and then my love of fairy tales as well. Like I wanted to do like Little Gingerbread Man, but a Chinese version of it with this short. I just love how fairy tales explore like light and dark elements, and they aren't afraid to expose that dark side of life to kids because I think that's a really important. I think it's really important that we don't like protect or shield our kids from that stuff too. Like it's okay to be a little bit scared of the unknown. Like I know for me, like watching The Lion King and Bambi growing up, that really affected me, but I think in a good way. So.
And how long did it take to make this from conception to the finished product?
Yeah, so I came up with the idea like over 4 years ago as just something that I wanted to do as a side project, but I pitched it to Pixar just on a whim, just like not knowing if they would ever go for an idea this strange. But they did, and Pixar greenlit Bao in
15, I think,
2015.
Yeah.
But then Becky came on.
Yeah, in 2016. And so the production took about a year and a half. We're sort of like the scrappy indie wing of Pixar, so we have to oftentimes start and stop production depending on when people are available. So we would start and do a bunch of shots, and then animators had to go over to finish working on Coco, and then we get them back and we continue going. And so it probably, if it was done back to back, could have taken more like maybe 9 months if we were able to work on it consecutively.
And how did you come, Becky? How did you come to be a part of the project as a producer?
Yeah, so Domee and I had the chance to work together on Inside Out. And then I actually went off and worked on Finding Dory. I was the production manager. So when I had wrapped that, I was asked to join Domee when she was being a producer. So we got matched up, but at the same time, we had this history. So it was so exciting for me. I was like honored and thrilled to be able to be reunited with Domee and start putting together our crew to get for the short.
And so you actually mentioned a bit of this next part you were you're doing this short at the same time you're working on other stuff for Pixar. How did you balance working on other Pixar projects, which had to be very time consuming, and then also working on this one at the same time?
Yeah, it was tricky at first, but there's like lulls in our schedule when we're working on a feature film at Pixar. So any lull I had in my full time job as a storyboard artist, and also evenings and weekends, because I'll like bring my laptop home and I'll still keep storyboarding at home. Like any opportunity I could get, I'd be working on it, and it was hard at first, but then I eventually like grew to kind of like it, like having two projects happening at the same time, because it just, if I got too kind of creatively fatigued on one project, I could just immediately switch to the other one, and that way I felt like I was always staying on my toes creatively.
Yeah,
it was nice to have like it's almost like you're like dating two boyfriends or something. I don't know.
Like for a lot of people, it felt like Bao was like dessert. Like we work really hard on our feature, or we do, you know, and I'm like, oh, I'm so excited that I get to come back to Bao for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or whatever it would end up being.
Creative outlet, like having more than one project.
Did so you mentioned that you pitched this to Pixar. You already work for Pixar. You're a storyboard artist. Is that an easy thing to do? A lot of storyboard artists pitch their ideas for short films to Pixar or to the higher ups there, or do they make it what sort of easily something that's easy to do?
It depends. When I pitched it to Pixar, they had almost did this open call for pitches in the studio, the higher ups. So they don't do this often, but they'll ask any employee if they want to pitch ideas for a short film, they can sign up. And you'll get like a designated time slot and like maybe 15 to 20 minutes to pitch 3 ideas. So I pitched Bao along with 2 other ideas for a short. And I think I was one of like 50 people who signed up to pitch to the higher ups, and there were multiple rounds. So it kind of felt like, you know, like an elimination kind of reality show, like American Idol or something. You have the panel of judges, and they're all like quiet and watching you as you come in and set up your pin boards, and then you're like clearing it. So idea number 1 is once upon a time there was a girl, you know, like an old lady, and one of her dumplings comes to life. So
on boards kind of like this.
Kind of like that. Like I'll like wheel like a bunch of images in. I'll have images representing the beginning, middle, and end, and I'll kind of like take the higher ups through like the story. And a good piece of advice I got about pitching is pitch it like you're telling a story to kids almost. It's like you're telling a bedtime story, or you're just telling a story and trying to involve the audience as much as possible. Like really set the tone with your voice and really like pitch it as if it's the most interesting idea in the world, even though maybe you don't really believe that. So that's what I did.
Except that they must have thought it was the most interesting idea.
They must have, right?
So I'm curious, was it much of a jump for you to go from being a storyboard artist to writing a full short? Difficult transition for you?
It was pretty, it was a pretty big jump. Luckily, I think because I work in story and I work so closely with other directors and writers, it like the whole like creating the story and seeing the big picture of the film came a little bit easier. What was tricky was like working in other departments I wasn't as familiar with, like edit, like layout, and animation as well. But it was just a really exciting for me because I was just playing in like a whole new sandbox, and I had all of these, like all of a sudden I was just exposed to just like so much more of the creative pipeline. So I was just learning so much and asking a ton of questions, and it was difficult to pick up. Everyone was just super helpful with explaining and answering all of my questions. Like, what's this? What's that mean? What's this mean?
Yeah, like the transition from 2D, storyboards, we have a few of these behind us, to 3D, there's just so much that you discover. Like, we just learned that Domee's designs, or her character designs, are really stylized and really pushed, which makes them super cool, but it also initially didn't look as appealing in the computer, so there was a lot of time we had to spend to make sure that it still looked just as cute or delicious, even as 3D animated, computer generated images. So,
the trickiest part for me was just learning how to collaborate and work with all of these super talented people. Because as a story artist, you're kind of just by yourself, boarding your own sequence in a room. But now you're kind of like, you want to bring the best out of everybody else around you, and it's not exactly your own work that you're doing anymore. You're trying to help other people get the best work out of them, and we all work together. It
is super cool too, thinking about that. Like, our crew brought so many interesting ideas to it and brought themselves to it. Like really cool ideas. Like, I think it was Rona, our production designer, who thought all of Mom's clothes in the short, as she's kind of going through the day or the events, the patterns on her shirt would change depending on her mood. So if you go back and look at it, you'll see, if she's feeling down, the patterns on her shirt become more muted. If she's feeling excited and better, they get brighter. And there's just all those kinds of interesting ideas that come in from our crew, suggestions or ways to make it better. It's kind of like, what you're talking about. It's kind of this sort of beautiful thing that comes when you start sharing sharing it with a team.
So, Domee, one thing that I think is, I love animation, and I'm sure since you're working at Pixar, I'm guessing you love animation too. I'm curious as to what animation personally struck you as you were growing up that made you say, I want to go into this field.
Oh, definitely, of course, Disney. I grew up watching Disney in the 90s, and I think Lion King is still one of my favorite films, just in general. I also am a huge fan of Japanese anime and Japanese animation. All of Hayao Miyazaki's work, like Studio Ghibli, it's just gorgeous, and it just makes me feel so happy, and it also makes me want to cry every time I watch his films. Like Spirited Away is my favorite film ever. But also like Kiki's Delivery Service, Whisper of the Heart, Isao Takahata's films too. I just love, and then just like Japanese anime in general. Like I was a huge anime nerd in high school. I would just draw like tons of like fan art of like this one series called like One Piece. And then I learned how to draw expressions and all that stuff from anime and combined it with my love of Disney. And I think that is really reflective of my style now, which I think takes a lot from Eastern and Western animation styles.
And I guess this might be, the $1 million question, but have your parents seen the short?
Yes, they have. And I took my mom to the premiere actually in LA, and she was really She was really
so cute.
Yeah, she was like taking
pictures
with us. Yeah, taking pictures of me like every single step we took. She just take another picture of me, and she was I think she's just really really proud of me.
And actually, to be clear, it was the Incredibles 2 premiere.
Right.
We just got to be the lucky appetizer to that feature. So that's why we got to watch the red.
She was super stoked. And my dad was really jealous because he's like, "Oh, can you make your next film about me?"
He's in it. I mean,
he's sort of in it. His spirit is in it. But so he's an artist himself, and he's a painter, and I got into art and animation like largely because of him. So like in classic like Asian dad fashion, when I asked him like, "Oh, like what do you think of the movie, of the short? Did you like it?" He's like, "Yes, I liked it a lot, but I have some notes about the colors." Thanks. Well, it's too late now, but thanks.
I think that transcends even just being, like you said, Asian parent. I think that's just a parent thing.
It's my parent thing. It's true. It's like they'll always have a little something to add.
But I think sometimes when it comes to like ethnicity or sometimes that dividing, there's a style to it. There's definitely like a style like with some Jewish parents and how they might do that.
I can relate to that. There was a lot of like, you got an A, why not an A+?
Yes.
We would commiserate about this, but you're absolutely right. It's like the same intent, just done differently. Different flavors.
Yeah, it'd be like from my mom, be like, "Oh, A, all right." What did your friend get?
So I do want to just this has been so much fun, but I do want to just close on another light note. What are your favorite kind of dumplings?
I love Shanghai soup dumplings. I discovered them pretty late in my life, and I guess the bao in the short is sort of like a hybrid of that and a steamed bun. But Shanghai soup dumplings, they're so good.
I have like a just like pork filled green onion dumpling.
Yeah,
pretty
classic.
Yeah,
pork and chive.
Yeah, pork and chive.
I mean, working on this, was it just hard? Was it just like hard not to be hungry all the time while you're working on something like this?
Oh yeah, totally. My gosh, like for reviews of like effects reviews, when we would look at those shots of like the food being stir fried and stuff, I just be like entranced.
And everybody's stomach is like. We actually said we did do a lot of reference, which meant a lot of eating. We like to say lots of dumplings were harmed in the making of this short. Like hundreds,
so many.
But I'm sure that was a great experience for everyone there.
Yeah, super fun.
It was. Yeah.
And well, actually, I do want to ask one other question. So we just got the news this week that Bao has been shortlisted for the Oscar for Best Animated Short Film. Congratulations on that. What was it like to find out about that?
Oh my gosh. I don't even
I started
remember what it
sweating.
was. Oh, you started sweating.
I saw it on a text and I was like, okay.
It didn't hit me until people started coming up and congratulating me. And I was like, oh, cool. Yeah, this is cool. Yeah, I'm just like slow to like respond to things. But yeah, it's just an honor, and yeah, it's so cool to be amongst such like talented filmmakers, you know. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's the thing too. I think there's like a part of me, I don't know if it's the same for you, that's like, I also don't want to get too excited because we're not, you know, getting this far is like crazy cool and hard to believe. So yeah,
fingers crossed though.
Well, Domee and Becky, I can't thank you enough for joining us. We wish you all the best this award season.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So nice to talk to you.
Yeah. Oh, and if you guys want to watch now, again, it's available on YouTube right now for free until Monday.
Yeah.
So
for 1 week only.
Yeah, 1 week only. Check out the short online. Watch mom's like clothes change.
Yeah.
Changes. Get hungry.
There's also lots of Canadian
references
because someone's from
Canada.
I noticed that there are a lot of maple leaves in there.
Yes. So gotta represent.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you so much.
Good to talk to you.
Yeah, so great talking to you.